I wanted to go through my first year of pharmacy school. I am officially a P2. Super exciting, but I thought that I would have the chance to document everything that happened my first year of pharmacy school, and I was sorely mistaken because I had no time at all to do anything but pharmacy school. So I really wanted to try to go through everything that I could think of. I'm sure I'm going to forget things, but the more that I can go through, the better. I was the first year of a brand new program in my pharmacy school. It's a well-established school, but they redesigned the program, added another year. It was an extensive overview academically of everything that was changed and structured. So there's the stresses that go along with pharmacy school, and they're about a year. They're high. And then you add being the first year of a new program, and it's like way up there. But honestly, I was so excited for... I have a really bad glare. I'm sorry, guys. I was really excited to be in a new program. They're like, we redesigned it. It's better. You're getting more crucial information. This will better prepare you for boards. Everything that they were saying about the new program, I'm like, yeah, I want that. I want to be the first year of a new program. They didn't tell me is that I was going to encounter every problem there could possibly be. I was going to hit every bump in the road that you could possibly hit. There was no swerving. You were just mindlessly blowing down this road with no idea where you're going until you crash head on. But that being said, I love the way that they're doing this program. They integrated a lot of the courses, and the material that's being presented is being presented earlier in pharmacy school than what it was previously done. I tried to write down a few things so I wouldn't forget. So let's see. So the first thing that I had to do when the first couple weeks of school, I had to fill out my intern license. So I had to, make sure that I was caught up on all my vaccinations. Had done my drug test, my background check, all of that extensive stuff was done. And then I had to get fingerprinted for the Board of Pharmacy for the state. So, all those things are so minuscule now when it comes down, but you're really stressed out. You're starting pharmacy school. You got to get all this stuff done. You want to be an intern. You want to start working. And I worked for a retail company for 9 years. Wow. Yeah, 9 years. Started in high school. Crazy. So I wanted to make sure that I was established there because I just transferred from the state I was in to the state I'm currently in. So I had to do that. Our class, because they built a new program, our class was built on transfers. So it normally wasn't a common occurrence to accept many transfers at the school that I'm currently at. But because they built a new program and added an additional year, they had no students essentially to fill that class. So we lucky little guinea pigs got to test everything out. So my class is such a great melting pot. We have people with degrees from all over the United States, and it's a very diverse program, and I love it. I love everything about it. There's nothing that I would change. So the one course that is an undergrad course that I had to take my first semester was Intro to Healthcare. It's a required course for the university, or for the college. No matter what year you come in, and this is a program that you can come in straight out of high school. So that was a completely different concept for me to grasp a hold of, because I was really expecting a lot older, mature adults, and you still have 18-year-olds on campus. However, there are two completely different academic buildings where most of your professional classes will be in one and all your undergraduate will be in another. So I really like that they kind of separated us, because you need that separation. There's just a completely different headspace you have to be in when it comes to undergraduate courses and when you're a professional going through the program. So Intro to Health was just a basic course that we had to take. Just went over the underlying collaborative agreements that we as healthcare providers want to see and make sure we take advantage of. So, it went from doctors to nurses to PTs, every area that you could think of, as well as the history behind it and the state as well. The next class that I took was Public Health, which modeled Intro to Healthcare very similarly. It was like I was taking the same course over again, which I completely understand if I didn't transfer in the year that I did, because if you had to take that as a freshman, Intro to Health as a freshman, and then 4 years later take Public Health, which is a more in-depth course of it, you kind of need that refresher. So I completely understand why it is where it is as far as the curriculum goes. However, I do feel like there should be some sort of baseline testing that you're able to do to maybe opt out of this course. Like I said, I have been in the healthcare field for 9 years now, so I have a pretty good handle on how healthcare works and the people that I need to interact with, and even the people that I don't interact with, I still have an understanding of. So I really feel like there should have been some sort of option to maybe test out of this class. There wasn't. The next class that I took was taught by two teachers. Different subjects of the course were taught by the instructor specializing it, I guess is the best way to word that. This class was medical physiology, and even with my physiology background and anatomy background that I had at my undergrad, I was lost. I really was. There was no prep. I was thrown in, and that was the hard part of being the transfer class, because everyone was this way. It wasn't just me. So the classes here, they shape, I'm trying to figure out the best way to word this. They really shape you coming in as a freshman of how they want you to be by the time you're a P1. No one in my class had any of those courses, had any of those instructors to know their teaching style, their testing style, anything at all. So we were like deer in headlights when it came to the fact that they were like, well, you should know this. And we were like, well, no, we didn't. And it was in such detail that we were really in shock that they expected us to know what they did. And having two different teachers was a little difficult, I'm not going to lie, because each teacher tested differently. Each teacher taught differently. The teaching styles between these two professors were so varied. They were complete polar opposites. The first teacher, like I said, we bounced back and forth all semester between the two. So the first professor I had, I was like, man, this was hard, kicked my butt. The first test that I took in my pharmacy career of school, I did the worst on in my entire academic profession. So that was really hard. I realized then that this was not going to be a cakewalk. And I knew it wouldn't be, but it was a shock and awe moment. And I felt like I was already really grinding, and I had to really apply myself and look at the patterns of which this teacher really wanted me to focus on. And sometimes it wasn't the overall picture, and sometimes it wasn't the intricate details that you think, oh, I'm going to use this in pharmacy practice later on in real life. No, you had to look at what this professor really wanted you to know. And sometimes that was difficult to see. The second test that I took in this course was with the other teacher, and it was, like I said, they were polar opposites. So their teaching styles were on completely different ends of the spectrum, and their testing was the exact same way. So it was a learning experience. I can't say anything else than it was a learning experience. So we had the second professor for a couple tests in a row, and then we flipped back to the other one. It was really hard because you know how when you take an exam, you take it and you're like, okay, I have a complete understanding of how this professor teaches, what he's looking for, how he tests, everything. You know, you kind of get that base concept your first couple lectures, quizzes, and exam. Well, when you have two professors, you get to do that twice. So you get your first exam, your first experience, your first, understanding of how and what they want. And that's a little rough because, your grade kind of suffers. So I would say that was the most difficult thing, was having two different professors that you had to kind of grasp a hold of their different teaching styles and then really be able to apply it. So that being said, that brings me to my favorite course so far, and that was Principles of Drug Action. So this was a combination class of P-Call and Med-Chem, and I was so ecstatic to see things that I was actually going to use and apply and put it towards my degree in school. I didn't appreciate that course enough when I took it, and I fully do now. So this course was taught by not one, not two, but three professors. So really grasping that teaching styles differ very much. I loved it, and I did not appreciate it enough when I had it, and I wish I could go back and take it again. I really do. So this was, I think, a 3-hour course. So I essentially sat in the same room because I had public health first, and then I had this course second. So public health I was in the same classroom from 8 a.m. till noon. Same classroom, same seat. The professors just switched spots. So that was a little difficult to sit there for that long. I really like the 15-minute courses where you can get up, take a break, walk around, refill your water bottle, kind of recharge. Because once you sit there for so long, it doesn't matter how much energy or sleep or focus you have, you eventually start thinking about something else. And it could be something in that class. Like, it could have been what the teacher was just talking about, and you end up thinking about that instead of continuing with the lecture because they keep moving. So anyways, this course was quite long. So they would take turns. So we would have one professor for the first 50 minutes and then another professor the next, and so on and so forth. I really like that. Switching teachers and switching subjects. So it went from like P-Call to Med-Chem and sometimes back to P-Call. And sometimes the Med-Chem professor would just assist the P-Call professor on certain structures and SARs. So, I mean, it was really, really neat to see 3 different professors, 2 different subjects, just combined so flawlessly and so smoothly. And like I said, I did not appreciate this course when I should have, because come second semester when they guest lectured in our courses, I wanted them back. I really did. They were an awesome trio, and I loved every second of it. And I really, sorry, I know there's a really bad glare. I did not appreciate it. And it's those moments that you wish you could just be like, you know what you're going through right now may seem like it sucks, but you really need to appreciate it, because it's going to get a lot harder, and you won't have the opportunity to have these professors teaching you every day in this style. So I miss that class a lot. I really do. Wonderful class. It was beautifully taught. I really can't complain at all. That it was, like I said, Principles of Drug Action, hands down, best course I've taken thus far. Okay, so my next course was a split course. It was, the first half of the semester was pharmacy calculations, and the second half was Pharmaceutics 1. So Pharm Calc, and I don't know if other pharmacy schools are like this. I like that we have high standards. I really, really do. I appreciate that they want us to try hard and continue to push ourselves. So, Pharm Calc, I believe you had to get at least an 80% in that course in order to pass it. So if you got a 79, you failed it. So like I said, I really appreciate the fact that they pushed us. And even though I have been compounding, even though I've been in the pharmaceutical world for quite a while now, this class wasn't necessarily a challenge, but it wasn't something I could just sit back in. So even though I knew a lot of weights and volumes, you still had to try. So the first half was Pharm Calc. Second half was Pharmaceutics. Just the overall overview of pharmaceutics. So we did have lab. We made solutions. It wasn't anything crazy. But they got us their style, their lab style, the way that they wanted you to write prescriptions, review prescriptions, make and formulate them, were vastly different than what I was familiar with. It didn't make sense to me to have a list of all the ingredients above the instructions. Actually, no, it was below the instructions. So I am used to seeing, Tylenol 325 milligrams. Take 1 tablet every 4 to 6 hours as needed for headache. And then the doctor's signature. They wanted us to write the label as the prescription number, the date, the patient's name, the SIG, and then a list of the ingredients, then the doctor, and then, of course, your assigned lab code. So it was different, and it was hard to adjust myself. I'm also used to writing in SIG. So my computer system that I work with, I can literally type TK1T PO Q4H PRN HA, and it knows take 1 tablet every 4 hours as needed for headache. And it was really difficult. I would have to review my label several times over and see that I still had PO in there, and I meant to write by mouth. But I was so used to typing in short code that it was really difficult for me to not do that. So, and the way they grade on labels is the hardest I have ever seen anybody take a look. It had to be perfectly straight. I should upload. There's like 2 pages worth of material of all the things that they take off on and how much they take off for. It was like a going joke in my class because we had it and laughed, and we were serious, and we were like, do we get points for anything, or do you just get deducted? Because they are so strict on it. They are so strict, which instills a good quality as a pharmacist, as, you know, and that's what they wanted. They wanted the presentation to look right, be professional. It has to make sense. It has to be correct. Anything that alters anything, even if it's just a typo, say it was Tylenol 325 milligrams and you accidentally, didn't hit the M hard enough and hit grams, or just little things. Any little thing that you could do, you could potentially get a 0 for that whole entire lab and ruin your grade because of a small error. So those were the courses that I took first semester. Overall, first semester, my mental status was rough. I was super stressed out. I thought that I had a complete handle on everything, and I worked full-time throughout my undergrad because I didn't take out loans. So I worked the entire time while going to school and did fine. So, me being able to handle a lot and having a lot on my plate and handling stress, I thought I was fine, but being in a new program is hard. It's really hard. There were a lot of unexpected things that we weren't not readily equipped to handle. We just weren't expecting. Like I said, this school is so used to their students, by the time they become professional students, they're already molded to the way that they want them to be. So it was really difficult to not be the perfectly molded student. And the teachers had to adjust as well. So what they thought was a baseline knowledge wasn't. And that was difficult for everybody. So as frustrated as I was at times, I know that the faculty there were also frustrated because half the class got it, the other half the class didn't, and then there was a few that were just on a completely different level of their own. So having a blended class is a blessing and a curse for the faculty at my college, because yes, most of us have degrees, so most of us understand and are willing to work through all the issues, are very understanding of the situation at hand, and we're not adolescents or childish about it at all. But we also understand that they are trying really hard to work with us, and it's difficult. It's not an easy thing to do. So, that being said, as much as I had on my plate, I pushed for more because I'm used to it. So, we didn't know each other at all our first week of school. We were still getting to know each other. My best friend, I ended up meeting at professional orientation a few days before school started, and it's just because we sat at the same lunch table. I mean, my class is small. I would have eventually met her, and I love her, but she, she's my rock. She really helped me through this year, and especially my second semester. I can't imagine going through pharmacy school without her now. And even if you're going to a new school, new program, moving, as silly as it sounds, you really do need somebody. And my class is extremely competitive, and every class above and below will say this about my personal class, is that we're extremely, extremely competitive. We try really, really hard. We are super involved. We go for every position that's available, any volunteer opportunity that comes about. If there's like a cap of students, we're fighting over it, where other classes have no desire to even consider it. So I love my class, and I hate it for that reason, because instead of being there for each other, because it is difficult to do what we're doing in general, it's also difficult to go through a brand new program without any support. It's mentally exhausting to see the fluctuation and the downfall and not know how you're going to come out. That was probably my biggest thing with first semester, is it was mentally destroying to all of us, because that first exam, like I was talking about in MedPhys, and I know there were people that didn't do well in the first drug action test, but, or any test in general, the first were rough, but, you know, seeing your worst score that you've ever gotten in academic history, and it's your first exam that you take in pharmacy school, and not knowing how you're going to come out of it, and not know you can cut it, it's debilitating. There's no other way to say it. It's crippling, and it makes you, you know, question everything in your life if you were really meant to do this. And even though I have such a passion for this, and I have for such a long time, I'm not going to lie that there were moments where I was worried. I didn't know if I could cut it. I didn't know if I could make it. I didn't know if I could keep my scholarships or do I didn't know if I could get past my first semester of my first year. And that was hard. So if I had to say one thing about my first semester of my first year, is that it was mentally exhausting. I tried super hard the entire time, and sometimes it just felt like it wasn't ever going to pay off. And that was hard to do. It was hard to not see the light at the end of the tunnel, or know that there was going to be a happy ending. It was hard to know that, you know, they would throw in, instead of making the test out of 100, they made it out of 104 because they put bonus questions in. Like, it was hard for me to see that I could do so poorly on an exam, but then also get 100% and all the bonus questions right on another test. So it ended up averaging out to be okay. And I know that wasn't the case for everyone in my class, but it was hard not being able to see that, and it was hard not knowing. That was the hardest part. But that being said, I'm super active in pharmacy school. So the first thing I did, first week, didn't know anybody. Nobody knew me. We were all transfers, and we had to elect our president, vice president, and our senators for our class. And I was like, you know what? I didn't do that at my undergrad. I wasn't really involved at all during my undergrad, but I have a list of things that I wanted to do when I came to a new school, kind of create a new me. And one of those was being extremely active within my school. So I ran for senator. I was nominated and elected, so it was kind of exciting. And I didn't really know much about student government at that time. And I really liked what they embodied. And I wanted a more active role within that. So at the end of the semester, there were elections for the executive board for SGA. So I went for secretary, and I did get it. The person that ran before me was an amazing secretary, so trying to follow on her footsteps and just really represent my class and the student body as a whole. I'm really up for that challenge. I love that this school, and I've never seen this before, but the faculty actually want to know what's going on with the students, how they feel, what they can change, what the problems are. And having class liaisons I wish my class utilized it more. So in each course, we have one class or two class liaisons. So if there is an issue, which there was, or if we hit a bump in the road, which we did, instead of the whole class emailing the professor about it and saying, hey, we have a huge problem with this, or this is not okay, or, we aren't grasping what you're saying, can you please try to change it in any way, shape, or form, instead of 150 people emailing one professor, one person met with this professor and expressed it. And I love that. I wish our class really took advantage of that a little bit more. Some people felt like they weren't represented the best, which is upsetting because we really do try. And I think a lot of people join or get on to SGA as a resume booster, and that's really disappointing because sometimes I get this at other universities and colleges and schools. Like, I understand how you feel like you don't make a difference, and maybe it is just a resume booster for some people, but it's more to that for others, and you really need to be there for those people, for your students, for your peers, for your colleagues, and really establish a good line of connection. Because there was a class I didn't talk about because I was about to quote this professor. I took hospital pharmacy as my elective my first semester, and this professor has always said that pharmacy is an extremely small world. You do not want to burn any bridges because it will come back to you. And it is. Pharmacy is an extremely small world, and there are many circumstances where I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I hadn't reached out and established that connection. And that being said, I attended a lot of meetings. So I applied for ASHP to be on the executive board, and I was the communications chair, which was great. I loved it. I was able to collaborate with all the other professional student organizations, as well as every area within ASHP. So that being said, our state had their health systems pharmacy meeting, and it was hosted at our school. So I was able to create some connections there that have really paid off. I'm not going to lie, they really have. So take advantage of those meetings, meet the people, create a really good opportunity to present yourself well, and establish a really good connection. That way later on they do remember who you are, and it will make the difference. The next thing that I did is I didn't really apply. I mean, I guess I kind of did. I was selected, more or less. I put in an email saying that I wanted to do this. So I am my class's class representative. And you field a lot of questions, and there are times where you have to figure out the entire class's schedule and what time works best to have a mandatory meeting that nobody can miss. I am an extremely organized person, and one day I will have to show you my planner or planners. It's how I survived pharmacy school. I'm not going to lie. It's why I survived. So as a class representative, we had to get, I guess some people get CPR licensure. We had BLS, so the American Heart Association has their basic life support for healthcare providers. So we did that first semester as well as getting our license. My school also has a volunteer day, which I really love. So it's creating community awareness with it and reaching everyone within the city. So we go out to different places within the city and volunteer. So that could be going to a geriatric home. There's many opportunities, and you can sign up for which ones you want to be a part of. I love that. Sometimes you really need to take a step back, and you can make a difference in the community and in healthcare, but sometimes it's just helping somebody out for the moment. Sometimes it's just being there to listen to their problems. Being a healthcare provider is not only assessing the situation that you're given, but also having an understanding of what the patient is enduring. Sorry, I am getting eaten up alive by mosquitoes. So really taking a moment to step back and realize that it's not all about academics. I love that. And it's a tradition at our school that hopefully will continue. I just applied a week ago. Yeah, I just applied a week ago to be on the organizing committee for this because I loved it so much. I was also on the volunteer fundraising committee for the Health Resource Center. So there is a School of Medicine right down the street from us, and we collaborated with them to have this big auction because the Health Resource Center doesn't exist without the volunteers and the donations. All the services are free, all the exams are free, but you need supplies and the manpower behind it. So the auction is the big money maker for keeping the Health Resource Center available and open to the community. And if you are in a pharmacy program, sorry, I'm still getting eaten up alive by these mosquitoes. If you're in a pharmacy program and there's a medical school nearby, you will probably most likely have a health resource center in your area. I would see if you could volunteer. There are a lot of medical students that volunteer at these locations, but there are also pharmacy students, and you can collaborate with the medical students for different health resource fairs. Just being able to present the pharmacy practice well at these events is a major presentation. So the next thing, let's see, that I did, I joined pretty much every, I'm not going to say pretty much, I joined every professional organization available on campus. So within ACCP, I took a role in the Innovation and Development Committee. And then in APHA, they have so many different options for you to choose because it's such a large organization. They have a lot of different committees. So I chose to be a part of Operation Cancer and Operation Diabetes. Those were two that I really wanted to try to be a part of and didn't require too much time, dedication to that. So for Operation Cancer, I took a hold of an event for Purple Stride. There's a Purple Stride event that goes around the United States, and so there was a run at my town's location, and I helped out there. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about my first year. It was a roller coaster of emotion. You were super excited because you did so well on one exam, and then you just went down because you bombed 3 quizzes in a row. And it's a lot to take on, but I highly encourage anyone, because you can really only sign up for spa organizations or professional organizations at the beginning of the semester. So take a moment, and a lot of people didn't do this and didn't understand that you can only sign up at the beginning. So take a moment and really evaluate what organizations you think you want to be a part of. It does cost a little bit to join because you go into a national database, but it's worth it, guys. You get to put it on your resume. You get to find out all these different areas of pharmacy that you may have not have known to exist before, and just explore them a little bit more. And ASHP, I absolutely loved it. We have a cancer center on campus with us, and we made cancer care packages for the patients, and then took it over to the cancer center, visited with the patients, just trying to uplift their day just a little bit. And afterwards, there was a pharmacist there that gave us a tour of the facility and then answered any questions that we might have. So that went from being a clinical specialist for oncology, as well as the research behind all the new drugs and the trial drugs that come out. I mean, it's endless. Oncology is something that really inspires me, and I thought I really wanted to do, and still have a deep desire to learn more about it. However, I discovered ambulatory care when through ASHP, through one of our collaborative meetings, and that was something that I really think I definitely want to pursue and look more into. But be involved. You don't have to be as extensively involved as I was, but even just getting your name out there, you don't have to commit too much first semester. If you just kind of want to get a handle on things, it's your first semester of pharmacy school, maybe a new location, and you just kind of want to get a handle on your life. I get that, but don't let an entire year go by where you're not involved. I could not stress this more. It changed pharmacy school for me. I can easily say that. It really did. It gave me a lot of different faucets to go to, and a variety of different areas of pharmacy and providers that I was able to connect with. And that's huge, because I keep saying this, but the pharmacy world is extremely small. And the people you meet, the impressions you make, they make that difference. So be professional, be courteous, be kind, be intelligent, and be involved. And try not to stress out too much, because honestly, it doesn't make a difference if you stress out over it or not. You are going to end up with a grade or not, and you can take years away from your life because of all the stress. You can have stress-induced acne, you can eat poorly. It's a bad cycle to get on, and I know it's hard to stay positive, but if you can stay positive, try hard, be ambitious, and just stay after it, I don't think anybody would ever have any problems in pharmacy school. But that's just my experience. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. Thanks.